Welcome to another deep dive today. We're going to be looking at a beautiful place to get lost.
Hmm.
It's pretty unique. I mean, it's part philosophy, part, personal story.
It's interesting. The author uses this child's perspective a lot throughout,
Yeah,
almost like saying, what if we could, look at life with that same kind of wonder that kids have?
right. Like before we get all that baggage that comes with growing up,
Yeah.
like in that one part where they're talking about like wanting to get lost.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean literally like getting lost.
No, not at all. More like pushing past those limits in our minds,
Yeah.
questioning what we think we know,
Yeah.
And that really leads to, I think, one of the biggest themes here, which is letting go.
Okay, so they talk about letting go of like rigid expectations,
Mm.
like identities that we box ourselves into, even the need to try to control things.
Right.
And they're saying that that's actually a strength.
Exactly. Think of it like a river. It doesn't try to force its way through rocks. It flows around, adapts to the landscape,
Mhm.
or a tree that's growing towards the sun.
Yeah.
It's going to bend and twist around anything in its way.
Oh,
That's resilience.
yeah.
So what are some things that maybe you need to let go of to really unlock your potential?
That's a good question. Make you think about all the ways that we try to control everything
Yeah.
and how that actually maybe makes us more fragile in a way.
Oh, absolutely. The author talks about, a bird
Okay.
that's afraid to fly because it's so used to being in its cage.
Hmm.
Sometimes we think we're safe, but really that's holding us back.
Right. That's powerful imagery. Makes you realize that, sometimes you got to take a risk, get out of your comfort zone to really grow.
Right. And that kind of goes along with another one of their big ideas, which is acceptance.
No,
Accepting things the way they are, the good and the bad,
Hmm.
not trying to fight it. That's where we find wisdom and peace.
So instead of always wishing things were different or worrying about what might happen,
Yeah,
we should just be present in each moment.
exactly. Think about enjoying a sunny day without, wishing it would rain. When we're so busy fighting against what is, we miss out on all the good stuff, right?
Okay, yeah. That is a challenging idea, but it's also kind of freeing, I guess, if you can truly accept things the way they are.
Absolutely. And it leads right into the author's view on doubt.
Oh, okay.
They say it's good to embrace doubt, question what you think you know. That's crucial to be able to adapt and grow.
So instead of just clinging to certainty, you should be open to new perspectives.
Right. It's like a bird adjusting to the wind while it's flying.
Okay.
It's always changing. Life's like that too.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you see that in business all the time.
Yeah,
The companies that do the best are the ones that are able to change quickly when things change in the market.
exactly. And the author even goes so far as to say that love thrives in doubt.
Okay, wait, what does that mean?
Think about it. When you're certain, that can build walls and keep us apart.
Hmm.
But when we have doubt, that leaves space to grow, change, really understand ourselves and others better.
Okay, that is interesting. It's like the opposite of what we normally think about love.
It is. So what do you think about that, listener? Does that fit with your own experiences with love?
Okay, so we talked about letting go, accepting things, doubt. Now, the author also spends time talking about how love is an action.
Yeah,
It's not just a feeling.
that's right. It's about going beyond just your own wants and doing things that are genuinely kind and compassionate.
Okay.
It's like a melting away of yourself without all those conditions and expectations.
So are they saying that real love is kind of dissolving the lines between you and me and recognizing that we're all connected?
Yeah. They have this great story about a yak that was scared of them at first,
Oh, yeah.
but then it ended up feeling free and happy just by being accepted. It's about letting go of that need to control everything or to define things and just be present, be in the moment.
Okay, that's a powerful image. And speaking of what is, the author uses this really interesting analogy about a jar
Yeah.
to represent consciousness. It's like what you put in that jar shapes how you see the world.
Right. And it makes us ask some pretty deep questions.
Yeah.
Like, who's asking the question?
Hmm.
And is there anything beyond the stories we tell ourselves? It's like the author is challenging us to look past the way we normally think and consider that there might be more to reality than what we can see.
Wow, that's deep. It makes you realize how much of our reality comes from our own thoughts and beliefs.
For sure. And that brings us to another idea that comes up a lot: honesty.
Okay.
They say being honest with yourself and others is the key to navigating all the messiness of life. It's about seeing through all those expectations that society throws at us
Yeah.
and finding what's truly valuable in our experiences.
And they have that great quote, the path to truth is the path of honesty. really makes you think about how important it is to be authentic and self-aware.
Definitely. And this honesty isn't about beating yourself up. It's about being kind and curious about your own motivations.
Yeah.
Recognizing what you're good at and what your limitations are, and having the courage to face those parts of yourself that you might not be so proud of.
Yeah, it's got to be tough to really look inside yourself like that. Confront those hard truths.
It is, but the author says it's those times when you're vulnerable and honest that you can really start to grow and change for the better.
Makes me think of that other part where they talk about the middle ground,
Yeah.
like a place where it's easy to be open and connect with others. Communication just flows.
I love that idea. They describe it like being around a bonfire,
Oh, yeah.
you know, where everyone is just laughing and connecting without even needing words.
Right.
It's a place where you don't have to prove anything. Silence isn't awkward. It's just a shared experience of being present.
So it's not like a physical place, but more of a state of being.
Exactly. And the author says that's where real communication happens. Meaning is in the subtle things, not in trying to force your point across.
Right.
It takes a lot of awareness and sensitivity, really listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart.
It's like that unspoken connection you feel with someone you're really close to. A look or a touch can say everything.
Yeah.
But getting to that middle ground sounds like work.
It is. The author compares it to taking off armor, showing your true self, flaws and all. It's about making space for real connection and recognizing that we're all human underneath those differences we focus on.
I'm curious, listener, where do you see this middle ground in your life? Are there people you feel that way with?
The author also brings up how society values confidence and being certain over honesty and humility, and how that can lead to people being afraid to be vulnerable or show weakness.
Yeah, it's like we're supposed to act perfect all the time, even if it means losing who we really are.
Right. And the author says that real love, just like life, needs us to be okay with not knowing everything, to be open to change.
To let go of that need to control.
Exactly. So it's about pushing past our comfort zones, challenging those ideas we have about needing to have all the answers.
Embracing the uncertainty and messiness of being human.
Right. And that takes us to their idea of natural vibration. When we're in tune with who we really are, life just flows.
Okay.
It's the opposite of forced vibration, which happens when we try to be what others want us to be.
So it's about realizing that real happiness comes from being true to yourself and not comparing yourself to others or judging yourself so harshly.
Exactly. They use this great image of a bird flying with the wind, only flapping its wings when it has to.
Yeah.
When we go with the flow of life, we don't waste as much energy, and we feel more peaceful.
That's a good reminder. Sometimes the simplest way is the best, and true happiness might be about accepting who you are, not trying to be someone else.
You know, the author asks this question, what does it mean to be human? It's so simple, but it leads to this deep exploration of consciousness, intelligence, and how we create meaning. What stood out to you there, listener?
I like that part where they talk about a child seeing a piece of paper with writing on it.
Yeah.
The child understands it's a physical thing,
Yeah.
but doesn't get the value we assign to it as money.
It's a really clever way of showing that meaning is something we make up.
Right.
It's not already there in the object itself. The author says that's what makes us human, that ability to create meaning.
Okay.
And all our different perspectives combined create this richness and complexity of human experience.
It's like we're all looking at the same world, but through totally different lenses, and each perspective is valid in its own way.
Exactly. And even though we might see things differently, there's something that connects us all just by being human.
And that brings us to how the author talks about the limitations of language.
Yeah.
Words can only do so much to express what we really mean.
They compare words to clothes. They can dress up meaning, but never fully capture it. There's this line that really gets me. I really don't know why I'm writing something feels different, though, and ease into silence. Just trying to share how I see it. How this is peaceful, sensitive. Both of us are trying to walk together. How we both know we can never know each other, yet we are trying to communicate.
That's so true. It's that struggle we all have to really connect with each other,
Yeah.
even though words can be tricky.
It is, but it also shows that even with those limits, we can still understand each other.
The author also mentions this idea of meaningless, talking about how much we don't understand and the uncertainty of life.
Yeah.
They write, meaningless, that which can't be understood. What does it mean? It means that it doesn't mean. Who knows what that means?
It's funny, but also really deep. We're trying to understand something that's basically impossible to define.
Right.
And maybe by letting go of that need to know everything, we can actually find a deeper truth that goes beyond our limited understanding.
It's like they're saying, stop trying to figure it all out. Just
Yeah.
embrace the mystery. Be open to the possibility that there's more to life than we can ever really grasp.
Right. And that reminds me of how they talk about conflict and suffering being a cycle.
Okay.
They say that our closed-mindedness and fear often fuel those cycles of violence and aggression.
Like that quote, being closed in oneself brings conflict. Sometimes one is closed because of one's desire, and sometimes it is fear of society. It works in loops. Any aggression, violence, hate, judgment gives birth to more aggression and judgment.
It's a strong reminder that what we do matters, and these cycles of harm can go on for generations. To break them, we have to be open-minded and see past those superficial differences and accept the complexity of being human.
So it's not just about changing ourselves, but making the world a more just and peaceful place for everyone.
Exactly. They talk about how everything is connected, how hurting others ultimately hurts us too, they say. What goes outside comes inside too. The hate, judgment which goes out for others, it will exist for oneself also.
It's a reminder that our inner world shapes how we experience things,
Yeah.
and that having compassion and understanding inside ourselves is crucial to making the kind of world we want.
For sure, and that connects back to their idea of the jar of consciousness. Our experiences shape how we see the world. Our inner state affects everything we do and shapes our reality.
So if we want to change the world, we got to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
Cultivating love, compassion, and understanding in our own hearts.
Exactly. And that leads us to where the author challenges us to question the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of. They write, I am a story, a fabrication in mind. Am I more than that? Maybe, maybe not. Am I writing my own story? Are others writing it, carrying the entire human history inside myself? I search for what is me.
It's like this deep human need to figure out who we are in the midst of all this complexity.
It is. It recognizes how our past shapes us, but stays open to the possibility of becoming more than that. True freedom is about letting go of those limits we put on ourselves and embracing who we really are.
Like shedding old skin, leaving behind the stories that don't serve us anymore and starting a new chapter.
I like that. And they use this image of a bird struggling to fly against the wind
Oh, yeah.
versus a bird that just lets the wind carry it. Effortless flight.
So it's about choosing to go with the flow of life instead of fighting against it,
Right.
to surrender to the unknown and trust that we'll end up where we need to be.
Exactly. The author writes, what if you just fall and let the wind take you when all of it is this moment, without doubt, some of me and some of wind dancing with each other? Then the story will write itself a story free of ending, free of itself.
That's beautiful. It's like an invitation to embrace the mystery of life, let go of all those preconceived ideas, and just let yourself be carried by the currents. I don't know about you, listener, but that image really resonates with me. Makes me want to stop trying so hard and just be present in each moment. See where life takes me.
That's a great aspiration. And speaking of presence, the author also talks about loneliness, how it comes from those walls we build between ourselves and everyone else,
Yeah.
between me and you.
Right.
They point out how we define ourselves in opposition to others, always comparing, competing, creating separation and isolation, they say. One plays card games with people, but it is not a play where everyone wants to be the character of winner. It is a race. It is a comparison. It is me versus her. It is putting myself up and putting others down. That is where the boundary gets defined. It's so common, isn't it? Feeling alone even when you're surrounded by people. The author suggests that real connection happens when we recognize we're all human, when we see past those differences and focus on what we have in common.
So it's about shifting from me versus them to we.
Exactly. They describe this middle ground beautifully. It's a place where you can be vulnerable, let your guard down, and really connect, they say. As one plays with another, the game of life there is a middle ground. Middle ground is overlap place of openness, of no conflict, where things are understood by hinting it is the same place around a bonfire, where laughter sounds higher than music, where being me is just effortless, where silence doesn't feel like something empty, where I is not imposing both on myself and other. That is the place we need to be to really have a conversation. It's about creating those spaces for real connection, building relationships based on honesty, vulnerability, and deep understanding that goes beyond words.
I love how they talk about letting go, not just of stuff or old beliefs, but also of needing to control everything or force things to happen a certain way.
They say that when we try to manipulate life, it just creates more resistance and suffering, blocking us from experiencing that natural harmony.
Like in that part where they write, give me a piece of this, that, too, that also. Why do I still feel empty? Why I have everything a human desires, everything a human can imagine. What is this question, I asked, whose answer can't be bought? Tell me a book, a podcast, lecture, teacher, a place. Tell me to do something which doesn't make me feel empty looking at oneself so helpless tears flow through eyes.
It's such a raw, honest expression of that human desire to feel fulfilled, searching for something more even when we seem to have it all.
It's like they say, the more you have, the more you want. This endless cycle that leaves you feeling empty inside.
The author says that emptiness comes from a misunderstanding of what happiness really is. We think it comes from things or achievements, but it's actually inside us all along.
So it's about shifting focus from seeking happiness outside to cultivating it within.
Yeah,
Recognizing that true contentment comes from peace and acceptance.
exactly. It's about letting go of the chase and being present in this moment, appreciating what we already have instead of always wanting more.
That's something we all need to hear, especially now. It's so easy to get caught up in wanting more, striving for something that always seems just out of reach. What if we just stopped for a second and appreciated everything we already have? What if we just allowed ourselves to be, to feel the joy and contentment that's right here, right now?
That's a beautiful thought. And it reminds me of how the author talks about a bird searching for the perfect tree to perch on.
Yeah.
It keeps comparing every tree to the picture in its mind, never finding one that's good enough.
It's like when we're attached to certain outcomes or have fixed ideas about how things should be, it stops us from seeing the good stuff that's already there.
Exactly. Real happiness is about letting go of those expectations and embracing this moment, appreciating each experience for what it is, not comparing it to some ideal version.
It's about being open to the unexpected, trusting that life will unfold in ways we never could have planned. What about you, listener? Are you willing to let go of those expectations and embrace the unknown? Trust that life will lead you where you need to be.
And that reminds me of how they talk about life and death. Life is all about movement and change, while death is when things get stuck.
Right, they write, what is life? It moves through you who is living what is death. When the movement stops, it is death. It's simple, but so profound. It highlights how dynamic existence really is.
It is. Being truly alive means embracing the flow, surrendering to the changes instead of holding on to fixed ideas or beliefs.
Which makes me think about their discussion of the water molecule moving through mountains into the ocean. They write, now does the movement ever stop a water molecule traveling through mountains goes into ocean? It is still moving, just the name has changed. What has ended is the story of one of its forms. What was moving is still moving.
It's such a great analogy. Everything is connected. And even in death, there's a continuation, a transformation into something new. It's about shifting our perspective from seeing death as an ending to recognizing it as part of a larger cycle.
That's really comforting, actually. It's like the saying, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. It makes me think about how even when we experience loss or things end, there's always potential for new beginnings, for growth and change.
It's hopeful, isn't it? It reminds us that nothing is really lost, just changing form. And speaking of new perspectives, the author criticizes our tendency to overthink and analyze everything, suggesting that this can actually stop us from fully appreciating the beauty and wonder around us.
I love that part where they talk about everyone rushing to explain a flower blooming. They write, a flower bloomed and everyone came to explain to each other what has happened. Someone started painting, some writing furiously, people coming with their tools of measurements, language of any topic, science, spirituality, philosophy, art. Every tool is different, and nobody actually sees the flower. Now the factions have formed. Let us fight to the end. Who is right? How will we decide who is right? What if everybody is wrong? Does it really matter now what actually is truth? Someone sitting near the flower just being...
It's such a brilliant critique of how we get lost in our heads, trying to break everything down and categorize it instead of just experiencing it directly. Real understanding doesn't come from analysis, but from being present with what is.
It's about silencing that inner critic, that voice that's always analyzing and judging, and letting ourselves just be in the experience, feel it, sense it, just be with it.
Exactly. And the author goes on to say, everything from inside to outside, conscious of everything, one can be conscious of watching the world playing in oneself. In reality, it is not like world playing in something. The play of what we call I, with not I, is your complete world that is all one can realize the explanation of anything other than, this is futile, it is all a mystery. Changing every second, no rules, no patterns, changing forms, moving in itself. Someone calls it God, someone soul, someone life. Words, just words.
It's like the mysteries of life can't be fully understood by our rational minds. True understanding comes from a deeper place that goes beyond language and concepts.
It's about embracing that mystery, letting go of needing certainty and control, and being amazed by the wonder of it all. What about you, listener? What comes up for you when you think about letting go of the need to explain everything?
Switching gears a little, the author also talks about this beautiful idea of love as a melting away of the self. They're saying that true love requires being willing to go beyond our own ego and feel a sense of oneness with the other person.
They write, love is the answer, isn't it? The realization of everything I am is coming from outside. This humbleness is not I am humble or I have become humble. It is humble because there is no I, or the I has realized that it is completely derived from relationships with world. It's such a profound perspective, challenging that usual idea of love as something possessive. Instead, they're suggesting true love comes from recognizing our interconnectedness and letting go of those selfish desires.
So it's not about taking or possessing, but giving and surrendering, being transformed by the other person.
Yeah, and they write, letting go is not a one-time process, as collecting from outside is being human. So letting go keeps happening with collection. This movement is actually life, and this is realized again and again. Now it is complete movement of thought.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Love is not static, it's dynamic and always changing. It's about letting go and accepting, opening ourselves up to the fullness of life.
It is, and the author encourages us to cultivate this kind of love in every area of our lives, not just romantically. True fulfillment comes from that sense of connection and belonging.
So it's about expanding our capacity for love, letting it flow freely and unconditionally, not just towards the people closest to us, but towards all beings.
Exactly, and that includes ourselves. They also emphasize the importance of honesty with ourselves and others. Real intimacy requires being vulnerable and authentic.
They write, let us try a different way. God is God, because it is accepted by what is not God. Value in concepts is derived from its acceptance in the user of concepts like currency, brands, diamonds, etc. If we understand this, then isn't the one accepting equally powerful? My story will not exist if nobody accepts it. The story is manifested in relationships. What one is actually the love accepted by others. It's a powerful reminder that our worth doesn't come from outside validation, but from our inherent value as human beings, from the love we embody and share with the world.
It is. And when we let go of that need to prove ourselves or seek approval, we experience deeper freedom and self-acceptance.
It's realizing that we are enough, just as we are, flaws and all. And from that place of self-acceptance, we can truly connect with others, offering them that same unconditional love and acceptance.
Speaking of connection, the author explores the nature of reality, questioning if our perception of the world is an accurate reflection of what truly is, or just a projection of our own thoughts and beliefs.
They write, we are all under the weight of our own stories, our own past. If you carry gold bricks on a trek, it doesn't matter if it is gold. What will matter is the weight. In the same way, the weight of a story is still weight. It doesn't matter if it is a billionaire's story or a poor's, if it is one named Indian American Chinese, if it is a winner's story or a loser's. It's such a thought-provoking exploration of how limited our perception really is. They're suggesting that our individual experiences and beliefs shape how we see the world.
It challenges us to question those assumptions about what's real and be open to the possibility that there's more to reality than meets the eye.
It's like we're all living in our own little bubble, seeing the world through those filters. But what if we could step outside of those bubbles, even just for a moment, and see the world through someone else's eyes? What new perspectives might we gain? What new possibilities might open up?
That's a beautiful invitation to cultivate empathy and compassion, to recognize that everyone's reality is valid and valuable, even if it's different from our own. And the author encourages us to do just that. Step outside of our comfort zones, challenge those limiting beliefs, experiment with different ways of being and seeing, and discover for ourselves what's truly possible.
They write, whoever is reading this, don't you feel the boundaries, the limited possibilities, Clay, getting molded in fixed patterns, even if we invent creative excuses or reasons of not letting go of our weight? We do feel the limitations. One time or other, the point gets lost in imaginative scenarios mind creates. After realizing this, the weight is needed for survival. What other option is there? Is it possible to actually get rid of weight? It is better to manage the weight more efficiently than trying to get rid of it. I like my weight even it kills me. It never ends. The only end is to face it, what can or can't. The only way to answer this absolutely is to do it and find out. It's a call to courageous self-exploration, an invitation to embrace the unknown and trust that we have the strength and resilience to face whatever challenges come our way.
It is. And it reminds us that self-discovery isn't a straight line. It's a winding and unpredictable journey that requires us to be okay with uncertainty and let go of that need for control.
The author encourages us to be curious and explore, question our assumptions, and approach life with a sense of wonder, recognizing that the journey itself is the destination.
They write, honesty about the question to oneself will be the fuel of life. I keep doubt and question with me realizing the difference between knowing and believing constantly this is the only honest way to live the story. It reminds us that those profound discoveries often come from humility and openness, being willing to admit what we don't know and being open to new perspectives.
It's about being a lifelong learner, always seeking to expand our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
And that learning isn't just about gaining knowledge, it's about embodying love, compassion, and understanding. As the author writes, what goes outside comes inside too, the hate, judgment, which goes out for others. It will exist for oneself. Also, what actually happening there is not any exchange. It is just aggressive vibrations. What happens when one is angry, hateful, other than the mental story, which is different for different people, it is just manifestation in the form of intense release of energy.
It's a reminder that our thoughts and emotions have a ripple effect, impacting not only ourselves but the world around us.
Exactly. The author encourages us to cultivate positive qualities, recognizing that they benefit not just ourselves, but create a more harmonious and peaceful world for everyone.
So it's not just about personal transformation, but about contributing to a collective shift in consciousness, creating a world where love, compassion, and understanding are the guiding principles.
And that brings us to the author's beautiful discussion of love as a way of being, a state of openness and acceptance that allows connection and intimacy to flourish. They write, love which goes out comes in too. So in reality, the concept of self-love is not about you. It is about how much love is given out. There is no difference between loving someone else or loving self. It is just love. It doesn't have direction, like anger doesn't have directions.
It's a powerful reminder that true love is not about taking or possessing, but giving and surrendering, allowing ourselves to be transformed by the other.
And when we cultivate this kind of love, we not only benefit those around us, but also experience a deeper sense of joy and fulfillment within ourselves.
It's a reminder that love isn't just a feeling, but a choice, a way of being in the world that creates a ripple effect of positivity and connection.
Exactly. And it's a choice we can make in every moment, no matter what's going on around us.
It really makes you realize we have the power to shape our own reality, choose what we think and believe, and that creates how we experience the world. The author also talks about this natural movement, like when we're true to ourselves, our actions just flow. They're effortless and joyful.
Right, like a river going downstream.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of that forced movement where we're trying to fit in or chase after something we want but can't ever seem to get.
This reminds me of that part where they write, natural vibration is vibration, which requires no efforts in maintaining the vibration of becoming, is on top of vibrations of being, it is not natural, and requires continuous energy even if the energy is not an issue. Mind and body get tired, but we can't let it rest as it is a race. So we squeeze every last drop till a breakdown of fever or depression happens. These are both natural ways of balancing, but we don't even have time to reset it naturally, and we keep dancing, tired, no expression, through tea, coffee, weed, cigarettes, alcohol, pills, like something dancing at its own funeral.
It's like they're saying we push ourselves so hard trying to keep up with everything, and we forget to take care of ourselves, to rest.
Yeah, it's like we're all running in this race that doesn't have a finish line. Always pushing, never stopping. The author says real fulfillment comes from being in tune with those natural rhythms, knowing our limits and taking care of ourselves.
Exactly. We're not machines, we're living beings.
Right.
We need to take care of our minds and bodies to really thrive. It makes you think about all the ways we avoid uncomfortable feelings instead of dealing with them.
Right, like using all those things the author talks about, those distractions. They also say, love is not a choice. It is melting away in other. I love you means there can be I don't love you or I hate you. Remove I and you. That is what love is. Love exists where there is no I and you, or there can be both I and you, where both exist without friction, like the dance of tree and light, like inhale and exhale when it exists in harmony. Then there is a sense in it, an order in it, and in order there are no separations. It seems like real happiness isn't about those external things, but about finding peace inside yourself.
I love that. And we can find that peace through things like mindfulness and meditation.
Yeah.
Or even just spending time in nature. It's about getting in touch with that quiet space inside.
The author also talks about truth being something you experience, not something you read in a book or learn from someone else. do you think about that, listener?
I think this passage really gets at it. The water runs down, making its own path. What it is going to touch is never touched by water before. Everything is first time as it only knows what is. What is? Is that a collection? Where is the starting point? What would you call or name the collection of memories happening without a starting point? That is actually the story of that drop of water. It is a story with no starting and end time.
Yeah, it's like truth is always changing. It's a journey, not some fixed point you reach. What do you think about truth being an experience, not just a set of beliefs?
I think it challenges us to let go of those rigid ways of thinking
Yeah.
and be open to new experiences and perspective, trusting that inner voice, that gut feeling.
And that connects to what they say about the limitations of language. Words can only hint at truth. They can't
Yeah.
fully capture it.
Absolutely, they say. And
Yeah.
that is the story of a human. Round and round, mind moves why. And round it goes again. Every question makes it move, but it can only move in a circle. So where will it move back to the question? If questions stop, the movement will stop. The stop is not forced stop. It is just not being there. Like it just vanished. How will it vanish? Are we observing this mind trying to reach there through questions? How else should I try? Where is the path? What is it? And round it goes again.
Sometimes the deepest truths are beyond words.
Yeah.
You feel them, but you can't always put them into words. It makes you realize how much we focus on explaining and labeling everything, when sometimes it's more powerful to just sit with the experience and let it be.
Right. It's about developing that deeper knowing, that connection to your intuition and your heart, like experiencing beauty. You don't define it, you feel it.
The author says this about beauty. Beauty doesn't lie in explanations. It doesn't lie in description of it through words, images, videos. It lies in experience, and no experience can be captured. Experience is thought moving free. It doesn't lie in preferences. A rainy day is beautiful, and a sunny day is beautiful. Is there a day which is not beautiful? It is not static. It lies in its vulnerability of being dynamic, and it is beautiful because it's changing as well as being it and becoming both happening.
I love that. It helps us break free from comparing and judging and just appreciate beauty in everything, even the things that seem ordinary or imperfect.
It reminds us to see the world with fresh eyes, like a child, to be present and to appreciate the beauty and wonder that's all around us. As we keep exploring A Beautiful Place to Get Lost, I'm noticing how the author really dives into the contradictions of being human.
They say. A butterfly flaps its wings and everything changes. A butterfly decides to not flap its wings and everything changes too. Action or karma doesn't lie in physical. It lies in will. Physical is just manifestation of will in a form. Makes you think about how connected everything is and how our choices, even the little ones, can have a big impact on the world.
We're limited, but also infinite. Separate, but also connected. Creators, but also creations. It's amazing when you really think about it.
It is, and the author seems to be saying we should embrace that power to create, understand the responsibility that comes with it, and use it to make the world better, more beautiful, more compassionate, more just.
The author's exploration of emptiness really struck me. How it's not a bad thing, but actually a place of infinite possibility. Do you see that anywhere else in the text, listener?
I think this passage really captures it. Give me a piece of this, that too, that also. Why do I still feel empty? Why I have everything a human desires, everything a human can imagine? What is this question I asked, whose answer can't be bought? Tell me a book, a podcast, lecture, teacher, a place. Tell me to do something which doesn't make me feel empty looking at oneself, so helpless tears flow through eyes. It's like they're saying we should challenge that need for material things and external validation. True fulfillment comes from connecting with something deeper.
It's powerful. It's about seeing that emptiness not as something to be afraid of, but as a place where new life and creativity can start. What if instead of trying to fill that emptiness, we went inward and explored what it means to be present, to connect with our purpose and meaning? What if we embraced that emptiness as a space of infinite potential, a blank canvas for creating a life that is real, meaningful, and truly fulfilling?
Those are great questions to reflect on, listener, and the author leaves us with one more. What would it mean to live life as though it were a game played with joy and openness, regardless of winning or losing?
It's like an invitation to approach life with playfulness and curiosity, to let go of needing to control everything and be afraid of failing, to be adventurous, to find joy in the process of living, not just in achieving some goal.
It's a beautiful reminder that life's a journey, and the true meaning is in those moments of connection, creativity, and wonder we experience along the way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into A Beautiful Place to Get Lost, I encourage you to revisit those parts that really resonated with you and keep exploring these ideas in your own life.
The journey of self-discovery never really ends, and the insights from this piece are just the beginning.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep embracing the beauty and mystery of life.